When you're somewhere and you're using it and stuff, you do have, like you said, those colloquialisms, you have the slang, and you have the ability to talk and the ability to communicate. And is that fluency? Or with the other one, you have the grammar, you know that if you're using the imperfect, you put the verb in its, that tense to the end of the sentence and all that. And you might do that naturally if you learn it while you're in the country, but you might not. So which one is more fluent if you were to put them against each other? It's really hard, man.
Welcome to Jump Podcast, formerly known as The Budget-Minded Traveler. I'm your host, Traveling Jackie, and I'm here to explore travel, adventure, and lifestyle in ways meant to motivate you to move and get out and see the world. Let this show be a source of travel advice and inspiration, but remember that in the end, it's you who takes the leap. Hey everybody, welcome back to Jump Podcast. I hope that you're doing well today wherever you are listening from. We are continuing our series on language learning, and this time we are traveling to Brazil. And the cool part about this is that our guest today is one you've heard on the podcast before. He's traveled all over the place, but this is the first time that he's been in Brazil while we've talked. I'm at least speaking for myself when I say we can't go too long without hearing his amazing accent on this show. So please help me welcome back our very own Hayden, the audio magician, I like to call him, behind the podcast curtain. He is, of course, my podcast editor for this show, and we love him around these parts. So Hayden, welcome back. I'm always so happy to have you.
Man, what an intro. I wish
know, right?
Everywhere I go, can you just come with me?
I will.
Just, before I go into a room.
I can do that for you every time.
Perfect.
All right, we're about to get into all sorts of things, language, Brazil, Portuguese, and more. So before we get too carried away, let's thank our supporting partners for this episode. If you guys haven't checked out Pimsleur yet and you're interested in learning a language, I invite you to do so. Pimsleur is a hands-free language learning app, meaning it works by listening and conversing. So you can take it on the go instead of having to be glued to your screen. You can pick the language that you want to learn, and then you sign up for a 7-day free trial to see how it works. And then you become a subscriber for just $14.95 a month after that, which in comparison with other programs is a mega deal when it comes to this kind of tried and true level of language learning. And I can tell you from my own experience, I'm using the Pimsleur German program right now, and it's a totally different approach from what I've used before. And it's definitely helping with my vocab retention and my accent, which is probably my favorite part. You guys know that I love accents. And so if you want to join me in learning a new language, go to myjumpoffer.com, which will take you straight to the page with the 7-day free trial offer where you can sign up. And if you do sign up, tell me about it. Let me know which language you're going to learn. I will be excited to celebrate that decision with you. So again, that's myjumpoffer.com to get going with Pimsleur, literally from wherever you are listening to this right now. Also, for those of you going abroad for a longer period of time and wondering what to do with your cell phones, specifically your phone number and your cell phone plan at home, check out Tossable Digits. They provide a solution that will help you keep your regular cell phone number even when you go. We're so grateful to Osprey Packs for partnering with us and supporting the podcast, so please stay tuned for more about them later on. I have an opportunity for you to join me in real life for some real travel. Here's the latest Jump Adventures update. We are going to Greece for a bike and boat island hopping adventure this May 9th to 16th, 2025, and we still have space left. Check out jumpadventures.com to learn more and book now. We're going to have a yacht all to ourselves with ensuite cabins on board, so you get to sleep in the same bed every night as we start in Athens and make our way west toward the island of Corfu. You'll have your own bike for the week, e-bike if you want one, for cycling the islands as we go, in between meals crafted by our private chef on board, and all the relaxing you want to do on the top deck under the Mediterranean sun. These bike and boat adventures are our most carefree and relaxed trips. All you have to do is say yes and show up, and there's still space. Head over to jumpadventures.com to grab your spot now, and we'll see you there. Abroad, so that you can cancel your service at home, which you won't be using. That way you don't have to worry about paying for an expensive service that you aren't using, but you can still receive texts and phone calls to your regular phone number. You can have those texts and calls forwarded to a new SIM card in your destination, to a new number, essentially, that you get locally. And you only pay for what you use. There are no contracts, so you can cancel anytime. And you can get your first month for only $1 when you sign up using the link tossabledigits.com/jump. There's a lot more information on the website that can explain it way better than I can in 60 seconds. And a live chat if you have questions and want to learn more about this cell phone number magic. So again, that's at tossabledigits.com/jump. Thank you so much to both Tossable Digits and Pimsleur for supporting the show. And thank you for being here and for listening. And all right, let's go back to Brazil. I was just confessing to Hayden that okay, now don't go back and do anything tricky on this, but I was just confessing to you that I trust you so much that I don't even listen to the shows after I send them to you. I just trust you to like take care of it and make it sound amazing. So thank you. Man. Seriously. From everybody listening, thank you for what you do for this show. You are so important here.
Oh, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And now I know that you don't listen. I can just add in some things, maybe, you know what I mean? Change some things around. That'd be quite fun. We'll see what happens.
I know. Oh my gosh. Now I'm asking for it. So Hayden, last time we talked, I think, if I am not mistaken, you were on a Harley somewhere in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know which country you were in.
Oh man, I was in France, I believe, but I was on the way through France from Andorra to Italy or Monaco.
Wait, really? No.
I think so.
It was after that.
Was I not? Was it after that?
Well,
oh no, you're right. You're right. It
we
was
did
Poland.
talk then, and then we talked again.
You're right. Yeah, I was in Poland.
That was for your show.
Yes,
remember
that's
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, too many countries, too many
podcasts.
Exactly. Yeah, it was Poland. I remember it. Yeah, no, that was a good time.
Poland. Okay, that's right. Man.
I already feel nostalgic about that last year, you know?
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. What a special journey that was.
Yeah, it was fun.
42 countries in Europe. 42.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you went home to the land of rolling hills and castles. Right? For a bit.
That's right. Yeah. I went back there and it's weird actually, because I never really appreciated England, but for some reason in the last year or two, I've really come to appreciate it, you know? Like I find myself listening to English music, putting on the Smiths and like
you finally love Ed Sheeran?
You know? No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, well. No castle on a hill for you.
No, not so much.
Okay, I don't know then. I think you still have a ways to go.
Well, you'll have to teach me on what being English is. I'll learn it. It's fine.
No, it's cool that you say that though, because you can develop such an appreciation for your homeland from the outside. And I mean, that is like, probably one of the first lessons about travel, you know, is that you start, I remember when I was 18, when I went to Costa Rica, the thing that probably surprised me the most, because I just wasn't expecting it, was how much I learned about my own country. That was, and actually by the end of that year, I was absolutely not ready to go home. I did not miss it. I did not want to be there. Hence the snowball effect with travel that has kind of, that kickstarted everything. But it is very cool what traveling to foreign places can do for your perspective on home, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not even like, when you say that, it sounds like you go to other countries and think, oh man, I miss this about my country because this is so much worse over here. I don't think it is that. I think it's just, I don't know, man. It's like last year or the year before, whenever it was, it becomes nostalgic. If you're away from home for long enough, it becomes almost nostalgic. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you can think back and all the bad things about a place or a thing or a person or a relationship or anything, they kind of fade away with time. All the good stuff is left. And that's where nostalgia comes. And you kind of get that about your home country. And then you think, man, I kind of want to go back there now. I don't know. It's weird.
Definitely happens. For example, this is a funny example, but it's very true. Like the food will do that.
Mm.
But I was going to say, like Oreos. Oreos just aren't the same overseas. You can buy Oreos, but they taste like cardboard. Don't buy Oreos overseas. Like you've got to eat Oreos at home, you know? And like seeing an Oreo package is like, oh, I remember when those used to be good. That's totally what you're talking about, right?
It kind of is, yeah. Yeah, no, you're totally right. Like, I'm trying to think of it. There are other examples. I'm trying to think of them, but where
like
it's
real
like
examples.
Oh no, man! I think they are real examples because, like, there's nothing. Well, if I right now, I'm near Copacabana in a place called Lemmy, and if I were to go out and try and source the materials and the food with which to create a Sunday roast, I think I could near enough almost get it, but it wouldn't be right. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be right. So yeah.
Well, it's the same as that's like, I mean, trying to recreate like a real Italian pizza in the United States. Good luck. It's not happening. It's just not happening. Like you don't have that local flour and like the simple, like fresh, organic, regional ingredients that you would over there. You can't recreate. But that's what makes it so special about traveling to all of these places and doing the thing that you do there, because you can only do it there. It's unique for a reason, and it keeps you going there and coming back to there to have those things, because you can't recreate them other places, you know? It's like what keeps it special.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've just made me so hungry. So thank you.
So tell me what's in a Sunday roast, in case you weren't hungry enough.
Oh man, don't do this to me. So an English Sunday roast. Surely you know an English Sunday roast, no? Am I about to teach you about a Sunday roast?
No, I just tell everybody what is in an English Sunday roast, because I think that it's going to be like gravy, like brown sauce, or whatever you call it, and just go before I ruin it.
Okay, so all right, let me put it this way. The roast dinner is the king of dinners. The Christmas dinner is the king of roast dinners. This is how this works, right? So the Sunday roast, I can't believe I'm talking about this on a travel podcast. Right, so the Sunday roast, you've got your meat, right? You've got your chicken, your lamb, your beef, something like that. Man, I'm hungry. And then you got your stuffing. Obviously, you've got your stuff in there. You need some Yorkshire puddings there. They're the best bit. And they act as gravy boats, right? Each one of those Yorkshire puddings, if you haven't had one before, you're missing out. They act as gravy boats. You stick the gravy in them, right? You got your veg on there. You got your roast potatoes. You got your mashed potato if you want two different kinds. If you're middle class, you got your parsnips. First time I had a parsnip, thought it was a roast potato because I'm working class. Bit weird, but so that's a roast dinner. Now I'm very hungry.
I'm hungry too. My gosh. No, but that was beautifully English. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh man. Anyway.
Oh man. Yeah. So let's get to the topic at hand here. There is actually a reason that I really wanted to invite you on the show today, specifically for the series that we're in, and that's because you're currently living in Brazil. So apparently you did get tired of Ed Sheeran, and now you're in Brazil. But tell us about that. I know you have a fascination with Brazil, with Portuguese. I knew you spoke Portuguese. I think we've spoken it a little bit with each other, and you already speak it. Well, I mean, not like you. Well, okay, we'll get to that. But tell us, like, where did that love come from? What is the story there?
Good question. I think my first kind of interaction with Brazil in any form, in any shape, was a girlfriend. This was in England. This was in Nottingham, and she was from Brazil. And then my first interaction with the language was where her and her mother would be there, and they would be talking in Portuguese, and I knew they were talking about me. I just knew they were, and so I was like, I'm gonna learn some of this without them knowing and see if they are. Turns out they were talking about me. Anyway,
so your plan worked.
Yeah, absolutely. I started kind of picking it up, and then I came clean. I said, look, I'm learning your language. And that's where the learning really began. And this is where my number one tip of how to learn a language, this is where it comes from. It is get a girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband that speaks the language that you want to learn. It is honestly the best way to do it.
I love it because you are, of all the guys that I've had during this series, I think they've all said that. And you just said it also. It's like, but there's such truth to that, because there's such a language there. a vocab set, there's a language there that isn't anywhere in books. It's very colloquial. It's very useful. It's hot. It's cold. Like it's all the emotions, and man, it's a quick way to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it first started when we were in this apartment and I came back from work one day and she'd what would you say? She'd cut up little pieces of paper and stuck them on everything. And it said the word of what it is in Portuguese. So the sink said pia, and then there was banho and porta, and it was all just, so I walked into the apartment and it's like, oh, okay. Everything was Portuguese. And that helped a lot. But like, I think that's the more kind of academic side of it. The kind of, it's almost like the translation of the word, even that, well, no, even though it's not.
It's not. No, because it's not. Yeah. No, it's using imagery. It's better. It's better.
Yeah,
in fact,
exactly.
that's the same approach that some language apps use. That they just show you a picture and they show you and they have the word. And that's so helpful because you skip the translate. It's the idea is you skip the translation step. You just know it when you see it, and that is super helpful. I mean, I remember words that I learned in German from Rosetta Stone, like the weirdest words that have totally stayed with, like, for example, Steckdose. Every German that I tell that I know that word gives me the funniest look because that means electrical outlet. But like, isn't that a useful word to know, right? Steckdose. But I remember that so well because I see the picture still in my head, and other words that are just like that are like from this Rosetta Stone thing that I did. But that stuff works. Man. It's a great way to start.
I think it also goes down to your learning style as well. Like for me, one of the main reasons that really helped me was because it's a weird kind of almost synesthesia thing, but when I say a word or when I hear a word, I can see how it's spelt. I see it written. I don't see the object. I just see how it's written. So if I know how something's written, then it's a lot easier for me to remember it and for me to see how it is. And that's kind of strange sometimes where you hear a word and you can see it written, but then you look at it written, you go, that is not how I saw it at all. Really weird feeling. But yeah, that really helped.
I am so with you on that, which is one of the reasons that French is terrifying. But languages like Spanish and Portuguese, Italian, well, Portuguese depends on the accent, depends on where you are, Brazil, whatever. But where those languages are amazing because it's like when you hear, I suppose it depends on the accent and the region that you're in. But I was going to say, when you hear a word in Spanish, it's written exactly the way that it sounds, like, except for maybe if I say it, because I leave out a bunch of letters and whatever. But like I said, depends on your region, depends on your accent. But
or Cuban Spanish.
Okay. So we can just scratch what I just said. But basically, like, when you write Spanish, if you learn the alphabet really, really well, if you know the alphabet, you can pronounce anything in Spanish. Like there aren't any hidden syllables or secret EAUXs or OUGHs, like everything is like what you see is what you get. So I love that too. Like the whole visual thing. I want to see it written, but I'll tell you something interesting, and I'm sorry, Mom. She's probably not going to listen to this, but I'm going to use an example because I don't even, what was the word? There was some word that I taught her just recently. I said it out loud, and she repeated it, and then I wrote it down for her, and she said it differently that time. And I was like, no, say it again the way that I said it first. And that is where the visual thing will get you, because if you aren't familiar with the accents and like the way things should be pronounced, then the visual way will throw you off. And that's where audio is magical, because then you're hearing it the way it's meant to be. But I'm just with you in that I need to be able to write it as well. And anybody who is learning a language, you really do need to be able to write it as well. Like hearing it isn't good enough because your grammar won't be there. That was what my French teacher, she was so frustrated with me because I was so not interested in like learning how to spell all those letters. I'm like, let's just talk, like I don't need to know how to write. And she's like, yes, you do. Like everyone needs to know how to write. And I understand, like she definitely has a point to that. Like, what's going to happen when I get a text message and be like, oh, that's how that word is spelled. And I just never knew. And how many times have I spelled it wrong or whatever, like you do need to know how to.
Well, that's totally true. Like, I mean, my ex-girlfriend, her sister, so they moved to the UK when, her sister would have been, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something. So she hadn't been in a Brazilian school for very long, her younger sister. And so she, because they spoke Portuguese with their mother at home, but to each other, it was English, and to their friends, it was English. They were all English. And so her sister, she had never written Portuguese or really read it before because they were only just talking it with their mother, And so she could speak fluent Portuguese, but couldn't read or write like at all. It was, so it was strange when like, when I started to learn, then when I came to Brazil and stuff like that, and then I would message her in Portuguese and she would say, man, I don't read Portuguese. Like she would have to say that.
Yeah.
Very strange.
That is very strange. It actually struck me very, very, so I was very surprised. But the first time that I remember having kind of like a lesson in this is when I was living in Costa Rica, and I made friends with a whole bunch of people who lived in a tiny little beach town. And it didn't really occur to me that these people wouldn't be like really well educated, like everybody speaks Spanish, whatever. But when it came to writing, and I'm trying to figure out how I even saw this because we didn't even have phones back then for texting. It was like back in the dark ages, but I would notice that they would switch out the B's and the V's a lot because in Spanish they sound very similar, and they actually didn't know. It's like they actually don't know that it's not spelled that way. It's like, whoa, that's crazy because it's the sound. They're just going off of the sound. And so they use whatever letter comes up, and
absolutely.
So yeah, basically like if we're going to educate ourselves, we want to educate, like be educated and try and put our best foot forward, even when it comes to grammar. Right.
Well, exactly. It's the thing of like, it's weird because in school, when you think of learning language in school, it's all about, the imperfect tense, etc. And then everyone talks about that with a language. They say, yeah, I did it in school for however many years and it was all right. But then I went there and I learned it in 6 months, like that's the common story you hear. It's like, as soon as you're around there and you're surrounded by it and you're using it and stuff like that. But I think it's a different style of, obviously it's a different style of learning, but it's a different thing that you're learning, I think, like totally a different thing. Because when you're somewhere and you're using it and stuff, you do have, like you said, those colloquialisms, you have the slang, and you have the ability to talk and the ability to communicate. And is that fluency? Or with the other one, you have the grammar, know that if you're using the imperfect, you put the verb in its, that tense to the end of the sentence and all that. And you might do that naturally if you learn it while you're in the country, but you might not. So which one is more fluent if you were to put them against each other? It's really odd, man.
That is such an interesting question. And oh man, I love this question. My brain is on it. It's like, I can see the gears turning in my own head right now. And I'm coming back to, actually there was a girl in my study abroad program who grew up with a around in the States, but around like a Spanish speaking family. And so she was, if I can remember correctly, she was pretty fluent in Spanish, but she couldn't write or read. Like she didn't have any of the grammar because she never learned it like properly. She could only speak. And I was leagues ahead of her academically. And I think, you know what? I think if I remember correctly, like I was better at communicating than she was as well, which is interesting because I had the grammar background. Like we were complete opposites. And this was my first semester in Costa Rica, like when I was still not fluent yet, when I was just learning. And it was just like interesting to watch her stumble because she was only used to what her family spoke and it didn't really fly where we were. So that's, I don't know. I like your question. It's like my brain is just like eating it up right now, just thinking about it. I think it must be a combination. I think if you want to be well-rounded with it, it's got to be a combination of the fluent conversation and the grammar.
Yeah,
really.
I think you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're right. And it's that thing of with the grammar as well. you eventually find out when you, if say, for example, come on, start and finish a sentence, shall we? If you learn a language in school, right? And then you go to a place and you start speaking it, you soon find out that 50% of the rules that you've learned are actually broken all of the time.
Yes. True. Also.
That happens an awful lot.
You know what else I find is that when you learn those things, this was also kind of one of the like a surprising lesson for me when I was first in Costa Rica, but it's like you learn one way to say something, but if you think about the way we talk, there are so many ways to say the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like what you learned it doesn't have to be exactly that. You can take the liberty, take the challenge maybe to try it a different way, to use something else, to say something. Like this is, I mean, in English, we often will call that poetry, because it's like going outside the norm. I mean, that's like an extreme example, but like when something is just expressed differently, and I love to do that with English, like just play with words and just say things differently because it works and it makes sense, but it's not the run of the mill, like same 30 words that you use every day, And so getting creative with it. But the point is, there isn't really one specifically right way to say any given thing. Like you can go around, you can use different ways. And so I think when you get to a level like that too, is especially when you've achieved some sort of fluency, because you're not just going by the book. You're not just going by the exact text, of what you learned. It's like you're able to put some creative expression in there of how you would say it. And it still works. It totally works.
Absolutely, yeah. Totally. And that reminds me of, Russell Brand from England, the comedian.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's got an extensive vocabulary. It's insane. And what he does, or what he did, I don't know whether he still does, is every day he would open the dictionary and or a thesaurus or whatever he used, and he would find a word, and that would be his word of the day. It would be most likely a thesaurus that he used, and then he'd find that word. And then over the course of the day, he would have to use it 10 times. He would have to try and find places in which to use it. And then he would do this every single day. His vocabulary is insane now. He would say a word and it would mean more of what he meant to say than the word he would have originally used. You know what I mean? It's like more descriptive, but he never even knew the word. And I find so that cool. It's a good thing to do in English, but also it's probably a very good thing to do in your second or third or fourth language,
Absolutely.
And then just, increase the vocab that way through a thesaurus rather than a dictionary. It's like a different way to do it.
Yeah, I will be forever grateful to my my host dad in Costa Rica because he loved to teach me. I loved to learn. Like we would do vocab games, and I thought it was fun. Like that's that's me. But he would teach me using crosswords, like crossword puzzles, because if you think about crossword puzzles, it's often a thesaurus almost. It's like you have to come up with different words for the same thing. And so he would do that with me. Like he would work on crosswords with me, which was so cool because I'm like, even in English, a lot of people think crosswords are hard because you have to have a decently big vocabulary, I guess, to do them. Or maybe you just have to know things, whatever. They are hard. But the point is they do use a lot of like synonyms. And so learning synonyms in a foreign language is a fabulous way to, I guess, expand that exact thing that I was just talking about. Is like there's more than one way to say, something.
Absolutely. I think it's great in your own language or in your second language or whatever. I think it's a really good thing to do. It's, man, have you ever just stopped and thought like how strange languages are? Like it's just noises that we make.
I know, it's so funny.
So odd.
We just form things that make sense to each other. And like, you really hear that when you can listen to a language that you don't know a single word of, and it's like, what are you doing with your mouth? And like the rate at which you are speaking to each other is just fast, it's like, whoa.
Oh man.
Totally works.
Have you ever seen that? Video of what English looks like to, what English looks like to non-English speakers? Or sounds like, rather.
I've heard like a gibberish. Have you seen that one? The girl who does all the different. It is so cool.
Yeah, man. There's a video of like some bloke and like some girl, and they're chatting, and they do it in a bunch of different languages. But the English one, it's so strange because it's like that definitely sounds like English, but I don't know what they're saying.
But it's gibberish.
Like, it's
Yeah.
so
That's
odd,
exactly what it is. It's like, you could probably Google, YouTube it or whatever. It's like gibberish in a bunch of languages. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating when it gets to the English one, because the other ones could, like, for all we know, they could be real words in real languages. And it's like they are real words, but they're put together in weird ways that don't make sense. And it's like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And she does it like completely amazing. Flawlessly accented, like with no accent. It's so cool.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Accent is the other thing that I always think about. So this is something I think about with languages, right? So when you hear someone not from England or US or something like that, and they're speaking English, right? Then sometimes you can pinpoint as to where they might be from. You know, maybe they have a little bit of a Spanish twinge on their English or something like that, right? So I always try and think about that with my Portuguese. I want to sound as much like I'm from Rio as possible.
Yeah,
you know, and I always wonder to myself that same thing, like, Am I sounding like a gringo speaking Portuguese, or am I sounding a little more authentic? And that's always my goal. But the kind of the hard thing about that was when I first learned Portuguese, it was with, like I said, my ex-girlfriend, and she was from the countryside of São Paulo, and the accent there is very different to it's akin to learning English with like a Liverpool accent, sounding like John Lennon or something, you know? So a lot of the words are completely different. So I kind of like re-taught myself in a completely new accent, which is still ongoing because sometimes I forget. But
no, that's definitely been a topic of conversation in this recent series, because accent is huge. And I mean, like, I used to have a very, very Costa Rican accent. And I don't anymore. Like, I do a little bit, but I also have like mix of other things. And that's what happens when you live in different places and it's the same language. Like, even there are different words. And I mean, everything changes when you cross borders or towns. It doesn't take much. Yeah, it really doesn't take much, especially in a lot of the more rural places, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
So did you ever take lessons in Portuguese classes?
No.
Really?
No. So the way I learned was firstly from the ex-girlfriend, like I said, and that kind of had a ceiling, because there's only so many things that you do talk about in your life with your girlfriend. You know what I mean? There's only so many things that you cover. And like, so that had a ceiling, you know, and it was just one person talking to another person, right? You can cover a lot, but it does have a ceiling. And then after that, what happened then? What did I do then? I did a little bit of Rosetta Stone, which I think was good, if not a little slow for me, you know? It was just a little, you know, I'm a little impatient. Like, I'd already got it, and, you know, because I like to learn with like mnemonic devices and stuff like that. And so I'd already kind of got it, and then it would go over it about 5 more times, you know? So I did that a little bit. And then after that, what did I do then? There was a little bit of... There is a wonderful kind of online, I guess it's a course or a class. It's called Semantica. It's Semantica. I think it's semantica-portuguese.com, I think. And it really is good. It's one of the best things. They should do it in every single language, because it really is good. So it's in 3 parts, right? The first is this bloke and this girl. They're just sitting there, and then they say a sentence, and then he replies, and then they say it again, and then you kind of realize what they're saying, right? And then the second bit is a little bit of a novella. It's like a minute long of a soap opera, right? And they will use these phrases that came up in the first bit, right? And then there's all this other extraneous dialogue that you don't yet understand, right? And then the third bit is a different bloke and a different girl, and they're chatting about what they saw, and, oh, he used this word. Why did he use this word and not that word that we learned previously? Why is that, you know? And then you learn kind of the more grammar and stuff like that. So it's all in one. It is super good. Honestly, it's so good.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, I'd recommend that.
There are so many approaches. There are so many ways. And you probably did that from where?
I mean,
England. Like, you weren't over the world, really. You weren't in Brazil though, right?
Exactly.
That's
no,
my
yeah,
point.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it was good because it had all aspects. It had the vocab at the start. it had the hearing people speak in like natural ways of speaking and stuff in the middle. And then it had the explanation and the more grammar and stuff like that at the end. It hit all the bases, really. I really would recommend. Man, why aren't they sponsoring this episode? I would totally recommend that.
That happens a lot on the show. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, that's...
But yeah, after that, though, like, what did I do after that? Then it was, tell you what is also good, and this is good for any language, was the mixer. I think it's language-something.com. That was the least helpful advice.
Wow, that was really great. Thanks for that. Putting that one on the show notes page.
That's it. So, but if you just search the mixer with two X's, then you'll find it. And basically you put in, I speak English, I want to learn Spanish, Portuguese, German, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can then match with people that speak German and want to learn English,
Yeah.
And then you can either do it via Skype, which a lot of people do, or you just get their number, go on WhatsApp and I did that for quite, it's funny actually, I did that for a bit. And I was talking to this girl on WhatsApp for maybe a year and a half, just every day.
We'll come right back to that. Let's take a moment now to thank our wonderful show sponsors. Osprey is the market leader in technical outdoor, travel, and everyday packs. And I've personally used Osprey packs since 2015. My favorites are the Fairview Trek 50 for multi-day hikes, the Cirrus 24 for day hikes, the Transporter Rolling Duffel 60, which is my trusty check luggage for faraway adventures, and of course, the countless packing cubes I use to organize everything that goes in them. We are proud to support each other on the podcast and beyond. We love getting outside, and we want to see more people outdoors. So find out more and join us at osprey.com.
Just send a little voice note through, and you'd have to kind of figure out what it means
Cool.
at first, and then and it gets you having to use new words in order to respond, and then it's using your voice as well. Then after a year and a half, I went to Brazil, and then I met up with her, and it was like, this is so strange. I've been talking to you for a year and a half. It's so weird. But yeah, I'd recommend that as well.
And then when you met her, were you able to speak with her in Portuguese?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, she didn't speak any English as well.
Oh.
so that was kind of, over the year and a half, like she'd learned a bit, but like we mainly spoke in Portuguese. I think I don't know. I think she kind of wanted a friend more than to learn English, which sounds a bit sad now that I say it out loud.
Oh.
But, yeah.
So did you live in Brazil before?
No, I was here for, how long was I here for? Oh man, the time is such a hard thing to track. I was here for maybe a few months or 6 months or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, that's quite a lot of time, but were you traveling around?
Yeah, down here in Rio and down here in the south, and then up in the north in São Luís, up in Maranhão, Maranhenses, and up there's nice. And just hearing all the accents, man. The first time I heard a accent from up north, oh boy, it's so good, man. I love that accent.
I don't know if I necessarily could. I don't know that. I learned in the south, so.
Yeah. So, okay, right. So in São Paulo, so. The what's the word? The accent that I first learned was the interior de São Paulo.
Yeah.
So that is like, if you were to say, I'm just looking around trying to think of things to say. So the door would be a porta with a very hard R.
Really?
A porta, yeah, very hard R. And then here in Rio, a porta,
Porta. That's more French almost.
Yeah, it sounds it, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, porta. And then there's like, obviously there is a word for it, but I can't remember what it is, but it's making an SH out of some of the S's, like, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I'm just trying to look around to see words that I can say using S's, but.
Well, I can, like, Lagos is a place in Portugal, but that is one accent one pronunciation that does transfer across the Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes
only
sense.
Rio though. Well,
no,
Rio and some other places.
Not necessarily like in the south when in Florianopolis. Well,
oh yeah, well
that's true.
Oh, no, there's other places like
necessarily there. At least not.
I think it's quite like hit and miss. Like in the north, you'll get some that do, some that don't. It's like I don't know how it's distributed.
Yeah, but that's getting into accents. What about? I remember. So before I went to Brazil, I had like the address for my house and everything, and the street name, I was way off in the pronunciation. I'm going to say it for you because you'll know exactly how it's how it's spelled. But you can imagine coming from Spanish what I thought it was before. I lived on Corrego Grande,
Okay.
which has a double R. Did you hear that? No. I mean, like, unless you know. Corrego Grande. Yeah. And so I was calling
and
it before I went.
As well.
Yeah, exactly. It looked to me like Corrego Grande. But in this Brazilian like Portuguese, it's pronounced Corrego Grande. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's good pronunciation.
Thanks.
Nice. I like
I'm
that.
telling you, I was like fluent in Portuguese once upon a time. It was 11 years ago. Can you imagine that?
Oh, man.
11.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 11.
Nice.
But I can still do it. And when you speak to me, like you, the general you in Portuguese, especially Brazilian Portuguese, it's harder with Portuguese because I feel like it's a sharper accent. It's like
totally.
edgier. I don't even know if that makes sense for an accent, but
it's more staccato. I know what you mean.
But yeah, with Brazilian Portuguese, it's way easier for me to just follow along and understand everything. And then when I respond to you, I'll probably be like, "Oui," like, "Ah, oh, damn it! I've just learned French recently." Like, oh, it's hard to.
Man, I get that all the time. And if anyone wants to learn Portuguese, don't learn Portuguese, right? First off, because it's hard, right? I would say learn Portuguese from Brazil, but from Bahia up in the north, right? Because it's basically the same, but a lot slower. It's just the same, but everyone sounds like they're just kind of singing a little bit. Let's say, Rua Correga Grande, né? It's like, it's the best. Não, tão cheio, gostoso, cara. It's proper. Oh, it's so good, man.
There, you just said one, gostoso. But there you go with the S.
I'm thinking in Portuguese now.
No, it totally that crosses over. In Spanish we have eso. Eso, sí.
Oh, really?
Yeah, same.
No way.
Oh man.
Yeah, man, and that's another thing. The whole thinking in language. Like I always try and explain it. Like crossing over from language to language is so, for me at least, so difficult to do, man. Because I'm like, if I'm working all day, and I work with podcasts, obviously, so I'm here in English all day, and then someone turns up, here in Brazil, and I have to speak to them. I go, okay, hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh yeah, Yep, totally. No, really relate. I call that the deer in headlights.
Yeah,
it's like,
man.
Blink, blink. You're like, yeah, it's not happening. No,
just buffering.
There was at the end of my month in Brazil back in 2008, I had quite a massive dilemma come up, and I was going to be stuck in the country. And this is like before cell phones, before Wi-Fi, like before all the easy stuff that would make this situation wholly hundreds of times better today. It was before all of that. And so I'm having to deal with this very rather large problem totally on my own in the São Paulo airport. And no one speaks English. Like this was just so like there was nothing that could help me. I remember talking to the woman behind the counter for one of the flights, my flight to Santa Cruz, I think I was going. Santa Cruz, Bolivia is where I was heading. And I had to cancel that flight. Like it was like a massive problem that I was dealing with. Any of you guys who have taken my course, my online course, you've heard this story. I told it on video in that story. It's like a huge, huge story, but I'm standing at the counter rattling off Portuguese to this woman, like so grateful for my ability to speak, like to learn languages at this point, because this was like dire straits. Like it was like an emergency. And I'm talking to this woman, and I asked her at one point, I was like, I was exhausted. My brain was exhausted. And I asked her in Portuguese, I said, "Do you speak English?" And she's like, "No, but I'm understanding you just fine. Like, keep going." And so I kept going. And then like 5 seconds later, she interrupts me and she says, "Well, I speak Spanish." And I stared at her and nothing came out at all. Like I speak Spanish fluently, like very well, like way better than I've ever spoken Portuguese. And in that moment, I couldn't even think of a single word in Spanish. It was like impossible. I almost said that with a V. Did you hear that?
I could hear it.
Portuguese, by the way, to switch. And that was where it was like out of body for me. It was like I stood next to myself, watching myself speak this language that I had been speaking for less than a month, just like floored that just happened, that I couldn't even speak Spanish in the moment. But it shows how difficult it is to have your brain switch. That's why, like, in the last episode with French, Matthew and I were talking about our French experience, and we couldn't switch it to talk to each other in French on the show. Like, we couldn't do it because like we didn't have a well enough handle, on it. Had we been in France, it would have been so easy because we were both super used to it. And like, I bet you could do it with me and I could probably respond to you right now, like in Portuguese, like we could have a conversation because you're there. It would probably work. But when you remove yourself from that, or like if you're too far in it, it's like, it is so hard to switch. It is such a thing. It's like the struggle is real. Big time.
It really is, man.
Should we try to speak some Portuguese for the benefits of our beautiful listeners here? I mean, I know you can speak to me and we'll see if I can pull it together to speak back to you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's that thing of when I was in Spain, if I could, because obviously I don't speak Spanish, but I would speak Portuguese, they would speak Spanish, it'd be kind of all right,
Totally.
So there's always that to fall back on. That's what's good about Spanish and Portuguese as well.
Oh, man, they are so... That's the thing. When I was in Brazil, I learned one thing above all, is that as long as I always speak Spanish, I will always be able to speak Portuguese because they are that similar. And I think I have an advantage because I was not a native speaker of either. And I think that is a massive advantage. I've had to learn both of them. And so I understand the differences and the similarities. And basically, I feel like Portuguese is Spanish with like different accents and different words thrown in here and there. It really is like so similar. It's absolutely amazing, which is why I was able to, I think, what's the word? Carry myself, not that. I was able to express myself so well, like when it really came down to it. And even in any conversation, not just the one at the airport, but in any conversation, it's like I could basically just speak Spanish, and then knowing enough about the Portuguese language was like, okay, I know how to twist that. I'm gonna try this word and see if it works. And like 50% of the time it does, it's like the same word. And if not, they'll teach you and you'll just get it right. So
absolutely. That happens a lot, especially with like those words that ends with like shun and stuff like that. You always know, like even if you've never heard it or read it or seen it or anything like that, you can probably guess.
Totally. Like there are similarities, right, between endings. Like once you figure out those things and like you can kind of figure out how to, like what that might be in Portuguese, and then you're right. I love when that happens.
Exactly. Oh, it's the best. Yeah, when you hit one, it's the best. Então, vamos falar, né?
Okay.
See, the good thing about that is that's the same in every language. Okay.
Oui. No.
I love it. Então, por que você fala português? Por quê? Namorado, né?
Não, pra mim não. Eu falo português porque, that was Italian.
I love it.
Eu morava por mês em Brasil, mas faz muito tempo que não falo nada de português. Nada.
Isso. Qual cidade? Onde? Qual cidade? São Paulo? Florianópolis?
Florianópolis.
Tá. E o que você acha?
De quê?
A cidade, Florianópolis.
Yeah.
Acho que é muito bonito, né?
É muito bonito.
Desculpa.
Cheio de praia. Praia?
Praia, né?
Cheio de praia. Full of beaches.
Isso.
I probably sound adorable right now. This is embarrassing.
You do.
But I can do it. It's like, oh man, I know these words. They're in there somewhere. I know that my accent's changed a bit. I can hear it. It's like I have a bit more Spanish. Actually, since I learned French, I noticed that when you said porta, like to me that sounds French, and that was not how, like we said porta. At least that's how I remember it in the South. And so it was, or I couldn't do the French back then. And so maybe it was, I don't know, but that I find myself using that French R, which is like, wait, what am I doing? Like, why am I putting that in there? It's like really weird, but it's because it's recent in my mind, you know? You also, you speak pretty fast. I think we spoke slower.
I know, I'm sorry. Like the last thing I said was I'm going to speak more slowly because I realized that I was. And this has happened recently. So before, my accent was like loads better, right? Loads better. But
well, you just got back. I mean, give yourself some time.
Well, it is that, but it's kind of, so I'm trying now to, it's odd. I'm kind of messing myself up because I'm trying to speak not faster, but like more colloquial in a way. And like, I'm trying to use different words. I'm trying to guess words. And then sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to say. And then I just try something. And there's all these things. And because of that, and because there's a little bit of thought involved, my accent kind of goes out the window a bit, you know? It's a bit weird because I'm thinking, well, maybe this word could go here and then that would mean that. I don't know if it does, but I'll give it a go. And then as soon as I do that, the accent's in the back of my head. It's not even there anymore. You know what I mean?
Which is especially, I totally get it. And especially with Brazilian Portuguese, which sounds like a song. I mean, it's so tonal, like up and down. And like, I mean, you can say like, oh my gosh, like, really like anything. Let's just give a simple sentence like
Então, vamos falar muito mais devagar.
Então tá bom.
Devagar, né? Devagar pra você.
But everything
Isso.
What?
Alto e baixo e isso como a música, né? Desculpa.
No,
mais devagar.
It's so interesting hearing you because you are even less like, I think you're a little less sing-songy than like how I remember the accent being in the South. And it could be just because it was the South, you know, like I don't know other parts of Brazil. I have not been there, but it's like everything was like just up and down. And like, as long as you make it sound like you're singing it, it's like, like with passion, like, that's
exactly
Portuguese.
It. It's like,
yeah,
man, it's that thing of like, people say, if you want to sound authentic in the language, and I don't think that I'm that good at this because it comes a little bit difficult for me. But like it's like you have to, if you were to do an impression of someone speaking English but they're from Brazil, like if you were to do that but speaking Portuguese, they say that that's like the way to do it, and that totally makes sense because you still have the rhythm of it. And I mean, admittedly, I don't have that. Well, I've remembered what I was going to say.
Oh, go.
Yeah. See, the people listening now won't know the part that we edited out where I couldn't remember what I was going to say.
Story. Tell the story.
But now I have.
Okay.
So when I came to Brazil, I think it was the first time, right? And I met up with this girl that was a friend of a friend. And it was, I mean, my Portuguese wasn't so good back then. And so I was speaking bits now and then, but I was just thankful that she spoke English, you know, and we spoke English quite a bit. And then every now and then we'd do some Portuguese, right? And then one night we went out and we had a few drinks, then we had a few more, and then a few more. And so we got hammered, really. We got pretty buzzed, right? And
which helps with the language.
Well, that's the thing. In the Uber back, it was just completely fluent. It was ridiculous, and like I didn't even realize. And then we got back, and she said, "Do you realize you've been speaking Portuguese like pretty well for the past, I don't know, half an hour to an hour?" Like I'm like, oh no, my brain is out to get me.
Oh, it's so amazing.
You know, it's the best, man.
Yeah, I remember I had that moment too when I was in Brazil, and it was the same thing. Like we had been out to a samba concert, I think, and then we were all like hanging out on the street, just like outside of a bar that we were probably dancing in, and then we were just outside until like, I don't know, like 2 a.m. or something. And whoever I was talking to just was not an English speaker. And it was like hours. And it's like, that was the first time I realized like, whoa, I am like, this is working. This is actually happening. Like I'm in Brazil right now, having a conversation, like a full, like lots, long conversations, all in Portuguese. Man, it's so cool when it clicks, when it works. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I always think back to that, and I think it was, I mean, for me, I think it was the alcohol that kind of loosened my brain up to, yeah. And I think, I always think about why that is. And I think it's because I think it's what would stop me from saying something is the worry that it would be wrong. That's always the thing that stops anyone, you know? And,
Yep.
and yeah, but then if you take that away, then you're fine. And then you end up saying 80% of the stuff right. And that is literally all it is. That is all it is.
That is such a good example, because this is not the first time that we've talked about like putting your pride aside just in this series. Like it's one of those things, like you just have to kind of put your shame aside and just put yourself out there. And that's a really, really, really good example that I think a lot of people could relate to, is like, and we're not necessarily going to condone, you know, going out and just drinking all the time, but like you understand what happens when that kind of layer of like embarrassment is gone and you just like are a little bit more free to talk. And that is what we should be doing when we're speaking other languages. Like if you can remove that layer, which is why alcohol helps. That's totally, you nailed it.
Absolutely. E as pessoas... então, vou falar mais devagar. Então, as pessoas, né? As pessoas que...
As pessoas que...
acho que é tão difícil para falar... Oh, nossa, tão difícil para falar mais devagar.
Eu entendo.
Isso, rápido é mais fácil. Não sei porquê. É estranho, né? É estranho.
Então. Porque para mim é como espanhol. É fácil. É fácil entender.
Tá. Entender é sotaque espanhol, né?
Ok.
Isso.
Okay, that's without alcohol.
That's good.
Oh man. It would take me just a couple days. I mean, the first time I went, I learned within like a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
I mean, this is difficult, like for me, and I'm in Brazil, but switching from English to Portuguese. I mean, for you probably haven't spoken it in a long time, so it's like can't imagine how difficult it is.
The other day, I met a Brazilian, and he said, "Você lembra falar português?" And I was like, "Oui."
Beautiful.
But really, like, yes, like I can remember. I know it's in there. Like the cool thing about this, and I will say this for the benefit of the listeners too, is the reason why I can still bring it back after it was only 1 month. 1 month of my life that I spent studying that language. That's it. Nothing before, nothing since, really. Like it was 1 month, but it was because of the way that I did it, is because I lived there. I lived with a local who didn't speak any English. I went to a small language school where I was the only American for those weeks. And so I wasn't, North American, like English speaking American, because there was actually a Quebecois there, but he preferred French. And so, you know, like even the strangers, that is total miscognate, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
Not strangers, stranieri. That was Italian. Come on. What's the word in English?
Foreigners.
Foreigners. Oh my
Foreigners,
God.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Where was I even?
Something
the
about
foreigners weren't even English speakers. That's where I was going with that. And so it's like, because of the environment I put myself in, I was just forced to speak so much Portuguese that it just like came out. It just happened, you know? And that's why I remember it, is because I did use it quite enough every day, even though it was only a month.
Absolutely. And it's that thing of, if you get dropped off in the woods with a bow and arrow and you can't find any food, you're going to come out of there knowing how to hunt. You know what I mean? It's like, if no one there speaks English, you're going to have to speak, but you're going to have to try. You're going to have to try. And that's what it is. That gets you, I think it's all about getting you out of that not wanting to make a fool out of yourself or say the wrong thing, you know? And it's like, if no one speaks English, you have to do it.
Your back's up against the wall. You got to figure it out. Yep.
Exactly.
You know what's funny? Even just listening to you right now and like having this conversation, I remembered something in Portuguese that I just did wrong. And, you know, when you like, at least where I was in Florianopolis, I assume this is Brazilian Portuguese or maybe all of it. But when you ask, like, do you speak Portuguese? The answer isn't yes. The answer is I speak. It's falo. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like that
exactly.
just came back to me. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said si or even we, I should have said
Yeah.
fallo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Or
heard of...
because I just did it. I said like instead of like, but that was the response I had was like, you said something and I was agreeing with you and I was saying like, yeah, that's it. That is it. Not yes. Is like it is the word I was using. Like,
exactly.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
man. That's one of the things that, like, when I came to Brazil the first time, that was one of the things I was told. Look, if you say sim to something, to a question, people will know you're foreign. I mean, obviously you look foreign. You're white as a ghost. You're haunting Rio.
Well,
but like,
that happens in Brazil. People look like everything. But yeah, to your point.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. And I kind of like that because you know why I like that, and it's a bit weird, but I like that when someone says, se fala português, and I say falo. I don't say sim. I say falo. And when I say that, I get this kind of feeling of, yeah, I said the right thing.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. Man. It kind of intrigues me again to, I have not been back to Brazil since. That was kind of that was a traumatizing event that like kind of got me out of Brazil in the end. And after that, I swore I was never going to travel alone ever again. I mean, we all know how that turned out, but yeah, it was like kind of a big deal. And I haven't been back to Brazil since then. I should definitely give it another shot. Yeah.
Tenho apartamento, Leme, tem praia aqui. Você vem pra cá.
Obrigada. Maybe I will.
You should.
Oh man, Hayden. All right. It's been an hour. So
really, has it? No way.
Yeah.
Man, I've been pacing this entire time. I really want to check how many steps I've done. But anyway.
That's why we turned off the video, because I would be sick if I was watching you pace that room this whole time.
I can't help it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, how about this? One, or however many come to your mind, piece of advice for people wanting to learn a foreign language. What do you give them?
You mean aside from get drunk all the time?
I was trying to avoid that one.
Right, okay, got it. Oh man, see, the one I want to say, which I'm sure a lot of other people have said, is get a girlfriend that speaks that language. That's what
you said at the beginning. That's right.
Honestly, that is the thing. Because with that, there's the other thing. Sorry?
It's hard to do.
No,
you don't
it's
just
not.
Come by these people.
Of course you do. It's fine. Anyway, another good thing my ex-girlfriend did was we would only be allowed to speak in Portuguese. That was the thing. There was it was as if she didn't speak English. She would say, no, only Portuguese. And I would not know the word. And I would say, I remember when I learned the word for table, right? This was, the first few days, when I learned, it was learn the word for chair. That was it. I knew the word for table. It was mesa, and I didn't know the word for chair, but I wanted to say chair, right? And so I had to say, uma mesa mais... Oh, no, it was a different accent back then. Uma mesa mais pequeno. I was trying to... I had the wrong... mesa pequeno, different genders and everything.
Bunda.
Exactly. Yeah. Uma mesa para bunda. Mesa para bunda, né?
I just said a table for your ass.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right?
Brilliant. Yeah, exactly.
To learn
this
the
is the
word
thing.
Chair. Mm-hmm.
See, when there's no English on offer, you have to think of these things, and then it gets you thinking of more words. Suddenly, I created a sentence. Admittedly, the sentence was table but small, and then one of them was the wrong gender, and then it was a terrible sentence, but it was a sentence nonetheless. And
you're forced to use your words, and it makes you think of other ways to describe things. That's really good.
Yeah, it was good.
The hard part is finding the person to date. That.
This is where it doesn't have to be dating. This is where the mixer comes in. I would say this would be my advice. Go on the mixer, MIXXER, and do that exact same thing. Do voice messages on WhatsApp. I know a lot of North Americans don't do WhatsApp, but you should. And, yeah, you definitely should. And go on WhatsApp and voice message back and forth all day long. Talk about anything. Learn about the culture. Do all this.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and make it so that 1 week it's only English. 1 week it's only whatever language you're learning. And then you just flip. Next week is that. Next week is that. Both of you are learning. You're helping. It's beautiful, man.
No,
Beautiful.
that's really cool. That's good advice too. And you can do it from anywhere.
Exactly.
Yep. Cool.
Nice.
All right, Hayden. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your stories and advice around language. It's something obviously both of us are very passionate about. I love it. I love talking about it.
Man, I can't get enough of it. Even the English, man, even now, I can't stop myself from talking. I think the coffee's kicking in as well. But I can't.
Isn't that always
what
I think? I don't know if we've ever had a podcast episode with you where you haven't said that at the end of the show.
I always think, this is what, I'll tell you why. I'm always doing something. I look at the time and go, oh no, I'm getting on that interview soon. So I down a coffee, hoping that it'll kick in fast. It doesn't. And then halfway through, it does. That's what happens.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you do.
But man, I love it. Like accents, like I could listen to like the Welsh accent for days. Just accents. I love accents. I love language. And like the girl that I'm seeing at the moment, probably girlfriend, let's say, she has an accent she's from the north. She's from Recife. And the first time she said words like, oh man. So their D's are actually D's, not G's, you know? Like, it's like verdade,
like the Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly. She says, verdade. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And stuff like that. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the best. So there we go.
I think some of my favorite words that I took from Brazil were longineki. Do you know what that is?
Man, they are the best.
Okay. Longineki, which is a bottle. Literally, it's like a bottle of beer. They call it a long neck. But they call it longineki. And then the other one is lapitopi.
Lapitopi is one of my favorites. There's also like
lapitopi.
Man, there's YouTubey, Facebooky. Honestly, there's so much. I love Facebooky. It's the best.
See, this is for me. It was like, oh no, I guess we'd maybe had Facebook, but it was early. So Facebooky is hilarious. Man.
I love it.
Gonna get a longineki and check out Facebooky on my lapitopi.
Maybe some YouTube. But yeah, it's so good, man. I love that.
Oh, that's
man. Words, man. And like even, man, some of the Portuguese as well, like the word for attitude for a long time was my favorite word just because of the rhythm of it, man. Attitude in Brazilian Portuguese, atitude. How good is that, man? It's like, it's bouncy, man.
Atitude.
And then there's like, watching as in TV, like assistindo. But if you have like a heavy Carioca accent, then it's almost like in the middle. You go, this is difficult to. You have assis, and then you got an S sound, followed by an SH sound, followed by a CH sound, all in a row. Which is assistindo. So it creates like this weird waterfall of.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
so good.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh, that's fun though. That's like. Man, the accent is so fun for me. Brazil, that's a fun one. Anywhere you go, it sounds like it's going to be. I recommend the South. You recommend what, Bahia?
I recommend, oh man, good question. I do recommend the North, like Sanwish up in the kind of northeast. That's really cool. I always recommend to everyone go to a place called, I'm talking fast now, go to a place, it's not really a place, a landmark, it's not really a landmark. Go to a thing called Lençóis. That's Lencois. It means like blanket or duvet, you know. Look it up on Google Images and go there. It's absolutely amazing, man. But just go anywhere in Brazil. You're going to love it. It's the best.
How do they pronounce your name, Hayden? What are you? They don't. Yeah, you have an interesting one.
I'll tell you how, right? Every time they read it, this is 8 out of 10 times. It happened yesterday. 8 out of 10 times, they will look at it, and then I can see them trying to figure it out, right? And then they go, Raiden? I'm like, no.
Wait, with an R?
Raiden, yes. They say Raiden.
You know what? You need to change the spelling. You need to start with like a double R. Start with an R.
Exactly.
And
it would be Reiden, I suppose. Yeah, Hayden. Yeah, it would.
Yeah, but it'd be
like
Hayden.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great
because you got the DE. So
yeah, good.
Interesting.
Good point. Oh, I'm gonna have to figure that out.
But mine's a J. The J.
Yeah. Jacques.
Jackie. It's easy.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
easy.
well, it depends where you put the accent. I would say, even though I'm obviously not Brazilian, but I would say Jacques. The E would be kind of,
Jackie.
but then that's more like Jack, actually, because they add on the E on the end, like Facey-booky.
Facey-booky. I just
Anyway,
love
but
the Facey-booky.
I don't mind being Raiden though, because like he was the electric man from Mortal Kombat, so I don't mind that at all.
Okay, Raiden. Well, no, okay, we've got to wrap this up because you and I are going to go forever like we always do.
I know.
I'm just going to stop with the Mortal Kombat and...
That's a good place to stop. When it's a travel podcast and someone mentions Mortal Kombat, that's a good place to end right there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Muito obrigada.
De nada, Jacques.
Muito obrigada.
Tá bom, de nada.
Okay, we'll talk again very soon. Thank you so much, and we're out. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. It is always a pleasure for me to catch up with Hayden. I hope that you guys feel the same. He really does a lot to help me out behind the scenes with the production of this show. I could not do it without him at this point. So thanks again to Hayden for all he does for all of us and for making another guest appearance today, all the way from Brazil. If you guys want to follow Hayden's adventures on Instagram, you can find him at Backpack Digital. If you want to reach out and say hey to me or leave a comment about the show, you can find me at Traveling Jackie. And let's see, in the next episode, we are traveling across a rather large pond to find our next guest and language experience, just one more in this series. And he is in a country I have not been to yet. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys there.